Okay, we're going to start in 1, 2, 3. Good evening. Today is Monday, July the 6th, 2026. Thank you so much for joining us today on the show. And, well, there's no shortage of conversation here when it comes to the NHL. So we are joined today by the host of Locked On Islanders. And yes, today we will have some Islanders chat. Gil Martin. Gil, thank you so much once again for hopping in today. I really appreciate you taking some time.
Appreciate you asking me on. Always great to be back.
I appreciate that so much. And so we will start with the Leafs here in order. We've got the first piece here is Darren Raddysh joining the team. Any thoughts, surprises on that, or what does he bring to the team?
I like the addition of Raddysh. It adds, a little bit more to the team overall. And I think basically the way this team is playing, first of all, anytime you can get a right shot defenseman in the NHL right now, those are hard to come by. The key question with Raddysh is he had one really outstanding season. Is that like a fluke, or is that the new normal for him? If it's the new normal, then the Leafs did exceptionally well. If it's a fluke, then they probably overpaid a bit for, what they're going to get.
So was it in your mind a risk or kind of a gamble that they took to get him, especially because he only has had one good season?
Well, look, again, it depends what you're trying to get. If you're talking about his offensive productivity, then yeah, there is a little bit of a risk there. But as far as him giving you a competent overall game, if he gives you, instead of 70 points, let's say he gives you, 30 or 40, but plays well defensively and gets the job done. Again, did you overpay? Yes, but getting a competent right shot defenseman in this league right now is not a bad thing, and Raddysh is better than competent.
Yeah. So it's kind of going to be then one of those things where it depends on how the season plays out, and that will sort of dictate whether it was a good move or whether it was a good acquisition or not.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, I think they did take a little bit of a chance, but again, it's a calculated gamble, and if it pays off, the reward could be substantial.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's certainly it. I feel like that'll be interesting to see. And I realize the reason that they did it was they're trying to improve the team and really kind of show, hey, this is what we're here to do based on the image that John Chayka got when he first arrived. I feel like that's one of the talking points on that piece too.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, you get a new GM come in. He's going to want to put his own stamp on the team. And this is certainly one way to do that and address a need that the team had coming into the offseason. So I like the move. How much I like it will depend on how he performs.
Yeah, sounds perfect, and it sounds good. So now we have Jim Hiller as the new head coach, replacing Craig Berube. That was a surprise, wasn't it?
That was definitely a surprise, just because sort of the lack of postseason success that he had in LA. Losing in the first round 3 years in a row. Things weren't great when he left LA, and he tends to play a more conservative style than maybe what the Leafs have been used to in recent years. It'll be interesting to see how this all fits together.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like what the expectation was there was some different name, or other than a Jim Hiller. Even there were a few kind of names that kind of floated out, that of potential possibilities, like Bruce Cassidy, for example. I mean, certainly he would have, I think, been a good fit, but I feel like perhaps they saw something in Hiller that we're not seeing, perhaps.
That is very possible. And couple of things. Number one, Bruce Cassidy, the Vegas Golden Knights were not making it easy to interview him, whether they would have denied any team or just teams in their division the right to speak to him. We really don't know. And then the other thing is, hockey, especially when it comes to coaches, is such an old boys network, as the expression goes. So everybody knows everyone. Everybody ends up getting multiple bites at the apple as a result. And I'm not surprised that, Hiller got a job. It's just this particular job I wasn't necessarily expecting him to get.
Yes, and I can sort of see the reason behind that, because first of all, with the fact that with the retooling that the Leafs are going through, I feel like they were probably looking for somebody with more, like, not looking for, but you probably would have wanted to see somebody with a bit more experience that had been there. Now, if Pete DeBoer was still on the market, if he was, then I feel like they should have gone that. I feel like if they would have gone after him, it would have been a better sort of fit, because yes, he has not won a Stanley Cup, but he's come close to that, so he knows what it's like to be in that position, especially at the time when he was with the Stars.
Yeah, I mean, DeBoer got, 3 separate teams to the conference final. He's been there, done that. But I think, with Hiller, one of the things is he is very steady. And I think with the Leafs in a retool right now, coming off a non-playoff season, he will keep their floor higher than maybe some of the other candidates who were out there. And that may have had something to do with their decision to hire him for at least this season as they begin their climb out of a non-playoff spot.
Yeah, that is certainly, that I think is certainly going to be an interesting sort of piece as well. It's going to be a good piece to sort of think about and look at how the season progresses, or how it goes, and perhaps he is the right fit. I mean, we'll have to we'll have to see how that sort of goes.
Yeah, got to give him a chance, see how he fits with the personnel, see how the team, are they cohesive? Are they working? Are they all on the same page under him? Because one thing about the Leafs last year, there was still a lot of talent on that roster. And I'm not saying it was Craig Berube's fault under any circumstances, but they were less than the sum of their parts last year.
Yes, absolutely. That I agree with. And do you feel it was a case where that the players kind of, even though Berube was trying to do his best there, or trying to, do you feel like it came to a point where the messaging that he was trying to provide to the players didn't resonate, or they just gave up?
I think there was a frustration level. I think everyone got disappointed, and then everyone got frustrated because no matter what they tried to do, they just couldn't climb out of that slump and could not climb the standings. So I think at a certain point, did he lose the locker room? I mean, it's hard to say if you're not in the locker room, but I think the results speak for themselves.
Yeah, certainly. And I mean, I was were you kind of surprised that he wasn't let go before they let Brad Treliving go?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. But I mean, I think they knew that changes were coming at GM, and they wanted to wait until they got a new GM to let that person hire his own coach.
Yes, and I didn't think Craig Berube, I didn't think that they would keep him around either when this new regime came in. And out of it, what really kind of shocks me about the new regime is Mats Sundin kind of coming back in that role.
Yeah.
Coming back.
Pretty impressive. I mean, such a great Leafs player back in his time, the face of the franchise in the early to mid 90s. But yeah, a little bit surprising that he's back. And you hope, look, you always like seeing all-time great players come back into the organization in some capacity. But at the same time, you can't hire somebody just because of what they did on the ice, 20, 30 years ago. You got to hire them because they know what they're doing and they're going to lead the team in the right direction. So hopefully Sundin can prove that, this wasn't just a hire because he's Matt Sundin, Hall of Famer, all-time great Leaf. We're hiring Matt Sundin, somebody who's going to help get this team from where they are to where we want them to be.
That's a very good point, because yes, it's a good PR move, but at that same point, and the other thing to kind of remember here is that he's been out of the league for quite some time. He was in Sweden, I think, for a little while.
Yeah, so, out of the National Hockey League, certainly not out of hockey, but that is always a factor. And again, you talk about PR. It's a great PR move when you make the hire, but if things don't improve, that gets stale in a hurry.
Oh yeah, yeah, and honestly, with the results are going to dictate.
Yep, absolutely, the results are going to dictate. Look, fans may be willing to give an all-time great player like Matt Sundin a little bit more time than they would give to somebody they are less familiar with, but ultimately the results will be the key, regardless of whether you're Matt Sundin or Joe Blow.
Yep, certainly. And of course, when you heard about the news for changes to Hockey Night in Canada, where the CBC will no longer air that, thoughts on that? I mean, I don't know. That I think was interesting, but I'm not quite sure if it was surprising.
It wasn't surprising, but I have to say it was sad.
Yes.
I mean, Hockey Night in Canada is an institution. I went to college at the University of Michigan. I used to be able to watch Hockey Night in Canada every Saturday night. And, it became then when I got the NHL package and satellite TV, I would be watching the doubleheaders on Hockey Night in Canada quite frequently. Even if I couldn't watch the entire game, I would watch part of it, and I never missed Coach's Corner. But, ultimately, it's an institution that is going away. And it's been such a part of hockey culture and Canadian culture since the 1950s. It may be the right move monetarily, it may be the right time, but it's still the end of an era, and there's something very sad about that.
Yeah, I certainly agree, and I think too, what's going on here. I feel like another side of, and I know you guys sort of touched on this sort of on Locked On NHL when you guys brought that up. That I feel like it is now for people who are watching the games on who want the visual sort of side on the television side. It is getting expensive to I feel like that it's becoming more expensive to to take with the streaming, like with all where is the game? So it's like then you have to end up paying for different streaming services.
Yeah, it gets complicated. This is an issue for the NHL. It's an issue for the NFL here in the United States.
It is, yeah.
Clearly, fans want to be able to just know where the game is going to be and be able to watch it. Like, fans want to say, hey, if I'm a Maple Leafs fan, I'm going to pay one price and I should be able to watch all 84, now that we're moving to an 84-game schedule, Maple Leafs games this year if I pay for this package, rather than having to get 2-3 different streaming services or cable hookups or whatever it is that people are going to have to use. You just want everything to be in the right place, and you want to have access to it at a reasonable rate.
Yeah, because then it adds up very quickly.
Oh, yeah, it really does. And then sometimes the playoffs are in a different package or a different network because of rights to that. So, if you're a fan of a team, you want to have access to your team. And think about this too. It's one thing for adults where, I've been a hockey fan for, I don't even want to say how long I've been a hockey fan for, but I've been following hockey for many decades, and it's part of who I am. But what about, kids who had hockey night in Canada on a Saturday night, if they're home at the age of 7, 8, 9, and they become hockey fans because that's on the TV and they get to watch it. If that disappears, are you cutting off access to the next generation of hockey fans? That is something that maybe you make a little bit more money up front, but in the long run, it could hurt the game.
Yes. But what about for what about for the audio side? Like, if you're listening to the broadcasts, depending on who has the rights to it, that can be difficult to find too.
For the Islanders, for example, their website has access to their audio. And I believe NHL.com has access to all of the team's home radio broadcasts.
Oh, yeah, that's right, too, in the NHL app, too, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if you have to pay. I don't believe you do.
Not in the NHL app, no.
Yeah, so to get access to the radio broadcasts, that's easier than ever, at least.
Yeah. And what about something like about Sirius XM? You've got access to all the games there too, if you're paying for that.
Right. And again, you have to pay the monthly fee for Sirius XM, but at the same time, voila, you've got every NHL game available in your car or in your home, wherever you have the hookup to Sirius XM, or could be on your phone. So there are ways to get the game. The question is it video? Is it audio? How much does it cost? And how many different areas do you have to go to, especially for the TV side, in order to get every game?
Exactly. I mean, do you know what I think people are going to actually end up? They might not even, you know what I think might even happen is they may not even pay these different streaming services to get the games. I think what might even end up happening is they might just listen to some podcasts or something that cover their teams and find out that way. That's what I think we're coming. That's what I think it sort of may come to.
It may. And, I don't want to encourage this, but people are always, pirating broadcasts that they don't necessarily pay for. And that's not good for the league. That's not good for the networks. And it, can get people into trouble if they get caught. So, the league certainly doesn't want that to be what fans have to resort to in order to watch games.
No, somehow, and of course, with the NHL started the I think it was the Monday night prime game, and it's like, oh well, now I got to pay for that.
Yeah. There's always, it seems like there's always another bill that you got to pay to watch all the games.
And I think the NFL had this thing with Netflix too, I think, or something.
Yeah, Amazon, Netflix, they're all over the place now with streaming services. And look, there's only 17 regular season NFL games, and I think you have to pay for like 5 different streaming services to watch every game of your favorite team in 2026. So go figure.
Yeah, it all adds up, certainly.
Yep.
And now, wait a minute here, Mike Babcock's back in the NHL. Part of the Oilers, with the Oilers.
Yeah, a little surprised at that, how that all kind of played out. But yeah, there he is. And interesting that the Oilers were not dissuaded by the controversy surrounding his past and what some of his former players had to say. And I wonder how much patience the players will have with him if he starts to act in a certain way.
Yeah, no, I was honestly, that is surprising because see, yeah, and given his past sort of things, like I mean, there were sort of reports about him going into players' phones or something. It's like, why all of a sudden are you? What are you seeing in him that I don't know that you hired him?
I mean, look, has he won in the NHL as a coach? Absolutely. But there are other coaches out there who were qualified, probably had, just as good a resume and didn't have the baggage. So what they particularly saw in Babcock, I'm not sure, but I have a feeling that he's not going to have a lot of leeway. There's not going to be a lot of margin for error here.
Yeah, no, exactly. I don't feel so either because I mean, if they've gone out and got him in, they're going to have to, he there's going to have to be some kind of proof there that yes, he is the right fit here, and performance is going to, and how he and his messaging has to resonate.
Yeah, it has to resonate, and the results have to be there. I mean, the Oilers fell back this year. They were not as dominant as they had been in the past few years, did not go on the long playoff run, did not even come close to the Cup final after making it in back-to-back years. Can he get this team to bounce back, or is this core aging out, slowing down, and they're going to need to start building back up because, it's time.
Yeah, I mean, and it's going to go to and I feel like whatever happens, I feel like the trade deadline is going to dictate it, and based on the performance of the first half.
Yeah, where they are at the trade deadline is going to be critical. And if they get off to a really slow start, would it shock me if he's not even there at the end of the season? No.
Yeah, no, that's certainly no. I mean, I have to say, I was kind of, given his past history, I have to say, I was a little disappointed. I mean, I was surprised, but maybe a little disappointed, or kind of even shocked. It's because of that past history of snooping into phones and whatever and all that stuff. I don't know. I mean, it's like, and they had to even get permission from the NHL, from the league, to interview and hire him. So that said something too.
But the NHL did say he was eligible and ready to be hired if anybody wanted to. So he cleared that hurdle. But again, why they sought him out in particular, when I think there were some other solid candidates out there, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, no, and I mean, of course, even if we go back a little bit, I was a little surprised even with John Tortorella, returning.
Yeah, I mean, that was on an interim basis, so it was a little less shocking. And, the fact that he coached, 8 regular season games, got them to the Cup final, and then stepped aside. One thing Torts did say after he left his last job was, I'm not ready to do another rebuild. I am not going to go to any team unless they're ready to win. And I think what he did in Vegas was like the ultimate, this team is ready to go. Insert John Tortorella here and watch the results.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was a little different.
Yeah, it was. And, I'm not shocked that he walked away afterwards. It almost would have been for him the perfect exit if he would have won the Cup, but ended up coming a couple of games short.
Yeah, well, it was a good final, though. I think it was a good final.
It was.
And, Brady Tkachuck traded to the Lightning from the Senators. And, I feel like it was a bit of I thought he would have stayed in Ottawa.
Yeah, I mean, apparently, he wanted to play with his brother, so he heads to Florida. And there was, according to several people I've spoken to and reports that I've seen, some tension in the locker room, particularly after the Olympics, where he was so gung-ho, USA, and it rubbed some of his teammates up in Ottawa the wrong way. The biggest thing to me, though, about the Tkachuck trade was that the players are now dictating to a large extent where they want to go. And they're taking these no-trade clauses and modified no-trade clauses and basically saying to teams, either you trade me to one of these 3 teams or no, I'm not going to play. And it really puts the players in control and leaves the teams kind of scrambling to try to get something back in return.
Yeah, that's certainly, yep. And I think, maybe that if that was it, I feel like if he's willing to, if he didn't want to be there, that's fine. But which it clearly sounded like he wasn't, that he didn't want to be. And that, I think, really, that certainly showed there. And I think the Senators still have Claude Giroux.
Look, there is still talent on this Ottawa Senators team. How they respond without Brady Tkachuck is going to be very interesting. They made the playoffs again last year. Can they continue moving forward? Will they be able to use the picks that they got in return to help the roster right now, or are they going to look more long-term at, taking one step back theoretically to try to take 2 steps forward? That's the big question we have to see in Ottawa.
Yeah, and speaking of those expiring contracts, this just popped into my head here. Coming to the Leafs, does it feel like that that they want to sort of keep, or that whether whether Morgan Riley, Austin Matthews, and William Nylander are interested in staying there long term. I feel like they may not once their contracts expire, but I don't know. And even Tavares.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting to keep an eye on. And I think a lot of it may hinge on how successful they are. If the team is really struggling on the ice, if they go through another year like they had last year, players may start saying, players may start saying, hey, I don't want to stick around. In fact, they may demand a trade even before their contracts are up. But if the team bounces back and plays well, there's a bigger chance that the players will at least want to stay.
And how do you feel about the Leafs drafting Gavin McKenna? And he was selected number 1.
Yeah, first overall pick. He was the consensus for almost all of the year. There was a little point where people were sort of saying maybe he goes second, but he's been, tank for McKenna was something fans of struggling teams were saying all year last year. And to me, the big question is, how does he handle the spotlight of playing in Toronto and the pressure that comes along with playing in Toronto? The good news for him is, there are other talented players. You mentioned, Nylander, for example, John Tavares. There are guys on that roster where he doesn't have to do everything for that team. And how they bring him along in his rookie year, to me, is going to be interesting. Is he going to be an immediate impact guy? Possibly, but we don't know. And I think Toronto fans and Toronto management have to be a little bit patient and understand he's not necessarily going to be a 30 or 40 goal scorer right away.
Yeah, and I mean he's like that. That's it too. He's new to the he's new to the league, and there's a lot of stuff kind of coming up there. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of I think the expectations might be a little too high for him.
Yeah, they very well could be a little too high, and the media in Toronto is always on top of everything. They need to be a little bit patient with him as well.
Yeah, definitely. And now Islanders talk. They drafted Malte Gustafsson. Now, what does he bring? What does he bring to the team, to the Islanders?
He is a big, mobile, defense-first defenseman. He is not going to put up a lot of points. You're not going to see his name in the box score with, 20 goals and 40 assists in a season. But in his own zone, he skates well. He moves well. He's physical. He's big. He will clear the puck. And I think, he's going to stay in Sweden one more year, so he's not coming over yet, but maybe next year is the expectation. And he's already at the age of 17 and 18 playing in an adult league in Sweden, and I think that makes a big difference as well.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, certainly it would be helpful to the Islanders to bring that speed and that he brings that speed and that whatever certainly that he'll be interesting to keep an eye on as well.
Yeah, you need a shutdown defenseman. The closest thing the Islanders have to that right now is Adam Pelech and Ryan Pollock, and they're both 31, 30, 32, getting up there in years. So if Gustafsson comes to North America next year, starts the season in Hamilton of the AHL, and then let's say in the second half of the season or even the year after, joins the big club. So at that point, you're talking about those two veterans being 33 or 34, right when they're really starting to slow down, the timeline fits.
Yep. Yeah. So, I'm excited to see what these two sort of what McKenna and Gustafsson bring to these to their respective teams.
Looking forward to it as well.
Yeah. And the Maple Leafs here, certainly now they've been busy here. They acquired Sergei Bobrovsky, and so here are all the players that have come in. We have Emil Andre, and he's and of course McKenna, Nick Paul, Jack Revolsik. What do you think of some of these players that have come in?
Look, I mean, you needed to make changes in Toronto. There was no way around it. You missed the playoffs. They were a bottom 10 team points wise. Changes had to be made. Are these guys going to make an immediate impact? We'll find out. I would tend to say it's not going to be this drastic impact from these guys right away, but they solidify your roster. They give you more depth. They give you they've got to get out from under, being near the bottom of the league in the standings. And I think this will help them do that.
The surprising one for me out of all of this was Bobrovsky.
Yeah. Goaltending has been, something that the Maple Leafs have had questions about on and off for a long time. Bobrovsky is getting up there in years, but he's won 2 Stanley Cups. He's gotten the Panthers to the Cup final in 3 straight years before last year. If he stays healthy, they certainly have a very, very good goaltender there in Bobrovsky.
And of course, to make room, they actually got. I was surprised at some of the ones that they traded. For example, Joseph Woll, and I realized Joseph Woll, Dennis Hildeby. I was surprised. I mean, obviously they weren't performing. And then they had Samuel Ersson, and then they got Brandon Carlo was traded as well, and Simon Benoit. So a couple of those, I think they were surprising, because I thought that they still had the talent in them to keep this team going a little bit.
I think they did have the talent to keep them going, but I think the Leafs are hoping for more. And they see Bobrovsky as someone who can win a cup for them now. Whether that's going to happen in the next year or two, we're going to find out. But, to the Leafs, Bobrovsky is a level higher than those other players, or at least he has been up until this point in his career.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit kind of, yeah. I think so too. I think if you look at it that way, yes, that they have to, that they've, they wanted to get more, and they wanted to get more, as well as they just, wanted to find ways to upgrade the team, and I think again it comes down to them saying, look, that the new management saying, look, they got a lot of criticism for the hire, and it's like, okay, now and I think they wanted a surprise. Oh, okay, now let's get down to business, and this is who we're gonna try and acquire, and they did.
Yeah, and look, let's face it, Bobrovsky is a name. He's been consistent. He's been clutch. The key issue for him is, in my mind, he's getting up there in age and staying healthy. But if he can stay healthy and still has, a lot left in the tank, this is an upgrade for the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And yeah, definitely. And I mean, yes, so that yeah, certainly there's a lot of interest there, and a lot of, I think it's going to be interesting when the season plays out. And yes, and certainly, and I think they've shortened the preseason a little bit this year, haven't they?
They have. They go to from 82 regular season games to 84, and they cut the preseason from 6 games down to 4. They're adding, maybe an extra rookie scrimmage here and there to sort of give coaches a little bit more of an opportunity to see the guys who are on PTOs and who are in camp, probably going back to juniors or going back to the minors. But yeah, 84 regular season games, 4 preseason games.
Yeah, yeah, and that'll be, yeah, and I think even when it comes to the the Islanders, it's going to be with Pete DeBoer at the coaching helm this year. I think that'll be interesting to see how he is able to sort of turn the team around a little bit, won't it?
Yeah, it will be. And the thing about DeBoer, Patrick Waugh did not have a lot of defensive structure. He was more about an up-tempo, go on the attack kind of a strategy. I think that management and, general manager Matthew Darche felt like they needed more defensive structure. So DeBoer, in addition to, as we talked about earlier, 3 conference finals with 3 different teams, he has that defensive structure. And when your best player is Ilya Sorokin, maybe Matthew Schaefer passes him, but, Sorokin is one of your top 2 players, regardless of how you look at it. You want to play to his strengths and not hang him out to dry, which, he faced as many high danger chances as any goalie in the league last year. And that's just not a formula for success.
Yeah. Would you do you see, I mean, down the road, before he sort of looks at retirement or whatever, do you see Pete DeBoer returning to the OHL at some point? I personally don't, but you never know.
You never know. I don't think so, but stranger things have happened, right? I mean, it's not out of the question. I'll put it that way.
Because ultimately, yes, one year he did win the Memorial Cup, but to translate that to the NHL, he hasn't really. Yes, he's brought teams close, but he hasn't actually made it to. He hasn't gotten any team to win the Stanley Cup.
Not yet, no. And certainly the Islanders are probably a couple of years away from even having a chance to contend. But let's see how Peter DeBoer does there. Look, he is somebody who should make you a winning team. Whether it's a cup winning team, that's a whole different story. But you should be a consistent winner under Peter DeBoer.
Yeah, that's what he's always sort of. That's what he's always sort of preached and worked, and the way he's worked, isn't it?
Yeah. There should be a high floor, and then how high the ceiling goes, we'll find out.
Yep, and yeah, and I mean, even now, of course, we've moved into the off season now, into the NHL off season, but it's still an interesting and exciting time in sports. We've got the Major League Baseball, we've got the MLB, and of course the World Cup going on right now. It's an exciting time, and of course, see the CFL too.
Yeah, CFL, World Cup, Major League Baseball, Wimbledon. You got a lot going on now in the sports world. NFL training camps are about 3 weeks away, so you got that coming up. Never a dull moment, right, in the world of sports.
No, and that's that's the exciting point. I quite enjoy, for me, I've always enjoyed, the NHL and the MLB, and of course it's been fun following this the World Cup too this year.
I've enjoyed it very, very much. Team USA playing tonight, so I'm gonna, after we're finished, gonna watch the rest of that match. And it's been a fun tournament so far, and we'll see, how it goes. We're getting closer to that championship round.
Yeah, and I mean, Canada, I think, yes, they lost on Saturday, but they had a good run, too, I thought.
They did. They looked pretty good up until that last game, and I think Canadians should be proud of their team. They did a very good job.
And England as well. I'd like to see England in the finals.
They're still going. England always seems to find a way to fall just short. That's sort of their reputation. Can they end that this year? They're still in it. They're heading to the round of 8, I believe. So we'll see. But looking forward to seeing what they can do in their next match.
Yes, absolutely. And the Blue Jays are on the West Coast still, playing the San Francisco Giants for 3.
Yeah. And I'm still, I'm a little old school when it comes to baseball. All this interleague stuff is still a little strange, Yeah,
it's kind of, but I mean, I guess now they have a balanced schedule, though.
Yes, they do. So there is that. Absolutely.
Yep. And of course, the Mets, and I don't know if, the Mets, I don't know if Howie Rose is still doing Mets games. I mean, I think he was going to retire at some point, but I don't know.
This is his final season. So this is it for Howie. I am a big fan of his. I know him from his time with the Islanders, and good guy, and I certainly wish him the best. Too bad that the Mets are struggling so badly. It would have been great for him to go out with at least a playoff series or 2, but that looks extremely unlikely right now.
I think a couple of years ago, I think he was doing part-time. I think he switched over to part-time, I think, at one point.
Yeah, his health has not been 100% in recent years, which is a shame. Yeah. But he's a class act, great guy, knows both baseball and hockey extremely well. And I could sit and talk, hockey or baseball with him for hours.
And also John Sterling recently passed away as well.
Yeah, sad institution for the Yankees. Not everybody remembers he did call Islanders games on the radio in the mid-1970s. So wow. He's got that hockey connection as well. But boy, such an institution in New York, especially, calling Yankee games for so long.
Yeah, and even a couple of years ago, he came back and did some play. Even after, I don't know how he ended up retiring. I don't know how that sort of worked out in the middle of the season, but he came back to do the games, the playoff games.
Yeah, and that was nice to see. It was a fitting farewell for John Sterling in the booth, and yeah, his passing, very sad, very sad.
Yeah, I think Susan Waldman's been doing it for quite some time, too.
Yeah, she's very, very good. Talented lady, broke barriers, and does a very good job. She knows her stuff forward and backward.
Oh, yes. And lots of good stuff. And absolutely. Well, we have an excellent schedule coming up here on... we have an excellent schedule coming up here as well. I'll be back here with on Sunday the Ali and McCarra show returns, and we'll actually be talking about a Skipper, the book Skipper by Why Baseball Managers Matter and Always Will by Scott Miller. I'm not sure if you've read that one, Gil, but
haven't read it yet, but sounds very interesting. I will have to check that out.
Yes, that's on Sunday. We'll be discussing that on Sunday, July the 12th at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. And then we have a Textravaganza this week on Wednesday, which will be July the 8th, where we will be doing a tutorial on the Goodreads app. And we have the books panel coming back at the end of the month, July 31st, where we'll be talking about the book Living Disability, edited by Emily McCrae. And we'll be back here with the Ali Musa Show on July 28th. Well, you never know, something could come up before then, too, with all the trade deadlines and everything coming up in Major League Baseball. And that'll be coming on July the 28th. Well, Gil, the time just flew by, didn't it? This was a lot of fun. I hope we can do this again real soon.
Hey, anytime. We'll figure out another time to do it. Always a pleasure coming on.
Absolutely.